All right, folks, the weekly pop spective Star Trek, the original series, The Enemy Within this week. So, this is one I did not remember. I remembered evil twin Spock, but not evil twin Kirk. So, this was a completely fresh green. I think I may have seen like a couple of the visuals over the years in footage for, promos or, some sort of release, things like that. So, I didn't even really remember the dog. I mean, I kind of remember the dog. The poor dog. We'll get to the dog. Poor dog. So yeah, you have the exploration down on the planet. There's an exposure and an injury, and then you have the transporter sequence that happens. And during this process, the lights going crazy, and next thing you know, we end up with like a duplicate that's like the evil version. And in that process, you end up with first a dog and then an evil version of Kirk. So liked it, thought it was okay. Um, I like the concept at least. Let's go there. So credits were good. I like the fact that they did like a lot more. They did the makeup and the eyeliner, and then they changed the shirt. So he's in a completely different shirt. So us at home can try to keep track of good Kirk versus bad Kirk. Um, so all that works pretty well. It sets up this whole commentary. First off, let me back up to the beaming because it reminded me very much of like there's bad Kirk. Um, the concept of you know, are you real? Is there really teleportation, or are you basically just disintegrated and reintegrated as a different version? You're killed every time. Those kinds of commentary, like in The Fly, things like that. So I like the fact that Star Trek did this so far earlier. I don't know that I really thought about that. Right from the get go, this episode has a great musical score, fantastic musical score. It was a very well written episode. I think the intent was there. I've always liked Richard Matheson. I thought his Twilight Zone with Shatner is possibly one of my favorite of the Twilight Zones. So it's really cool to see all that kind of come together. Of course, this is Daddy Penn. I think Nerdporio put a comment in there about that. This is Sean Penn. This is their dad, Leo Penn. So yeah, this is you got off to a pretty good, very very solid start. Hot Yeoman, we get the evil Kirk doing his thing, and Scotty with the horned dog and the diagnosis of Kirk, and then there's a real phaser, and then there's like a pinch, the Vulcan nerve pinch. So we get a little bit of everything in this episode pretty early on. Here we go, evil Kirk throwing down some booze. We have shirtless Kirk. We get a whole lot of tropes, a whole lot of really interesting dynamics and things like that going on before you end up with uh, this scene, which was extremely uncomfortable to watch, I'm sure, in the 1960s, because they really want to create this juxtaposition of what a good man is versus an evil man, how he's in constant fight with his inner animal, so to speak, and his intellect can be superior and control both and those kinds of things. And Spock gets a little on the nose in the third act, but here you just see something that's actually quite intense, and you see them struggle. And I think what was interesting was you actually saw um, Shatner actually slaps her. I guess I didn't know that was true, but yeah, he actually hits her to get the emotion. So yeah, the stuff that they did back then, boy, I tell you, that's crazy stuff, right? Um, so yeah, all this was fine. I think Kirk was good. You end up with like there are so many great shots of Scotty, by the way, in this episode of sort of like he has just this great presence of I know what's going on to do, and I also don't know what to do and what's going on. So it's just this interesting presence that he really delivers. Again, another episode without Uhura. That was a big disappointment. I think she's on an intercom or something, but I don't think she's actually on screen. Let's see what else. Yeah, look at the emotion in Spock. He does have some emotion at times. Anyway, um, yeah, Kirk gets Shatner gets some meat to play with here with the performance and things like that. I think it is a little over the top for me, but it's not bad. And it's just trying to play those two concepts against one another into like extreme caricatures, which is fine. Okay. Um, the backstory with the men on the planet. Let's try to get to that. There's a lot of conversation about that, and this is the evil Kirk, and this is when they actually catch him. Well, that was when we get the actual nerve pinch, right? I think we actually get the nerve pinch. That's actually how they get him in this sequence right here. So the Vulcan nerve pinch was good. I like that. Of course, I like that. How can I not like that? It's like one of the best, coolest elements of the whole thing was to be able to have that. So, uh, this stuff was like so cringy bad. I mean, the idea that it's negative 20, 20, negative 40, negative 70, we would just be dead. You would have just so many health problems from all this. At one point, they're like, well, what do we do? We use the phasers to hit the rocks. And I'm like, all right. The fact that they all have different colored blankets. And I was like, okay. So I had to look it up because I was like, okay, what is the whole strategy? So I guess there were some changes that were done with this. And this was like sort of like, it was flushed in. They're probably trying to pad it out to a full hour because I don't feel like we had a full hour of story here. I know that you guys probably like this show a lot more than I do, so therefore, um, the control your anger, inner angry man story and things like that, I think are fine. I just don't know that we have a full hour of story. So we end up with this first phase. There's doing experiments and things like that. And this is where you really get the first really good element here with Bones. And Bones is having this great conversation about it all. So let's listen to Bones for a second. See, I like this. I like the fact that Bones is so they love that dynamic between the doctor and the captain, right? Because so much more of the show centers around the captain in the original series than I kind of remembered, and maybe it evolves over time. He's like this advisor. They're worried about the medical care of the staff and the crew and the captain, and he sort of like has almost like a philosophical medical response rather than just an actual medical response. Yeah, it's good stuff. So then we fast forward to the experiment and we end up with the dog. So I actually couldn't believe this. I actually thought to myself, how on earth did they get this dog? So they're pretty cruel to the dog. I mean, I guess they starved the dog and they poked it with a stick to get these shots. And I'm like, okay, so the animal cruelty stuff obviously comes across a little bit later on. This dog was not trained to do that. Um, I don't think I saw. I mean, I saw it, but I don't think I really caught it. I was trying to find the frame where you can see Scotty James Doohan's missing a finger because he lost it in the war. But this is an episode where you can't actually quickly notice it, but it goes by so fast. And then it's like it's just too much for the dog. The dog dies, and then it's just the conversation about it all. Yeah, see how melodramatic they play. Like he plays like crazy maniacal. They play melodramatic. I don't know that I totally bought the he's losing his will. Like he needed to have this sort of like bent up, crazy, toxic male, testosterone driven Kirk inside of him to not be this sad, pathetic. I don't have will and motivation, but I'm not trying to dog the show as terrible. I just thought it was like it was just all okay. Um, and this is where we end up with one of the first problems. So we have a big switcheroo, right? And then the scratches change. There's a couple shots where the scratches are on the different side of the face as he tries to change identity and stuff. This is all the crazy, who everybody is kind of thing and stuff like. See now the scratches are on that side, things like that. And the hugging was like really, really like a little awkward for me. I'm like, ugh, oh, mm. Um, okay, so that's kind of where I was at. Um, with that part. And there's a he's a dead Jim scene. Isn't that the dog? I think it's a he's dead Jim. Yeah. I think this was the well, by the way, the sound effects and the score and all of that, I gotta be honest, I don't know if this is just lightning in a bottle that they lucked into so many perfect things that make this show iconic. Like, um, I think this episode didn't need to be, was it 50? I think like 56 minutes or something. Like it's really long. It's like 50, 49, almost 50. So 50 minutes. This is an episode that probably should have been a little bit shorter. Like we didn't need like some of the duplication, some of that kind of stuff, but they do the best they can. But what really carries the show is that I feel like I'm in Star Trek, man. It feels really good. Um, the whole "aren't you forgetting something, Jim? The people are trapped down there" kind of thing. I really didn't like any of that sequence because I felt like um, it doesn't make any sense. Like, just beam them up. I don't know where it is. Where's the one where they're almost frozen shot? It's right before the end, and it's like they're like, I mean, like they have Sulu like wrapped in a blankie with some frost in his eye, snow, and he having to use the files like this. Anyway, um, I couldn't stand any of that, man. I was laughing at how bad it is. It's like, so if you have the crewmen that are nearly dead or dead, and at some point, even if you haven't fully worked out all the kinks, you think you have, like you're ready to experiment on Kirk. Why would you not just beam them up? I know there's like I don't understand that. I feel like I missed something. It's like you're ready to capture bad Kirk and try the experiment. We think we got it. But the people on the planet, the red shirts, I don't know what there was like 4 or 5 different colors this episode for some reason. Um, it's like we didn't just beam them up, just beam them up, try to save them, see what happens. So they lost me with that story element a little bit at the end with how it kind of comes together. Yeah, this stuff was this was brutal, man. I was having such a hard time. So, and I don't know what this thing is in the back. I assume it was a prop from the earlier scene. It's just like these little things kind of, all right, whatever. And the hugging, I think I mentioned the hugging, and poor Scotty, he didn't get to be there for the finale. He may have fixed everything, but Spock is the one who gets to do it and save the day. And then we have Kirk, but he does keep this. He does keep the scratches. He does keep the scratches. And Smug Spock, Yeoman, and credits. So overall, very solid episode with a great concept. Not thrilled about the Sulu backstory. Not totally sure they had everything quite buttoned up. A little bit too long. So yeah, it was interesting, and I like the fact that I'm getting frame of reference of some of these things and the evolution of it all and stuff like that. So I don't know if you're enjoying the journey with me, if you're rewatching this stuff with me. I appreciate you. I know there's been a lot of comments. Thanks again to Norporial for giving me not only the playlist, but he's giving me a lot of comments and insight as I go along to really try to I think he's trying to brainwash me into being a bit more of a Trekkie than I am. So we'll see what happens, folks. You guys can be the judge. But thanks for watching. See you next week. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.